Good morning, everybody. This is me after 70 minutes of fasted cardio. Living the dream, everybody, living the dream. And like 4 hours of sleep. Okay. So, Natty politics, right? Let's get controversial over here. So, if you're oh, there's a bunny, everybody. Hold. Okay. That was actually a good pause anyway, because I need to collect my thoughts. But you know the expression with ADHD, squirrel? That was it, like literally displayed in real time. Bunny! Live. Right, so for those of you who don't know, right, if you're like a normal person, meaning you're not in this whole like crazy gym lifestyle or whatever, and you know anybody who's a bodybuilder, very likely they compete in the NPC. The NPC is an untested organization, meaning if you take TRT, if you choose to use anabolic steroids recreationally, whatever the hell you're doing, it's all fair and it's all good, because the purpose is it's the National Physique Committee. So it's about presenting the most impressive physique by whatever means necessary. At least that's how I've understood it. It's pretty straightforward to me. Do what you do. Do you, boo. Just come in tight, you know? And the NPC is an amateur organization, and you compete in the NPC until you earn your IFBB Pro card. And again, untested. So that's worth knowing, that's what most people are introduced to. That's where the Olympia and the Arnold and all that stuff is all in the world of the untested bodybuilding organizations, which are essentially the NPC and then the IFBB Pro League. Now in the Natty world, oh boy, there's a lot going on in the Natty world. You got the biggest, most prestigious in the States that I know of, but who the fuck am I? I'm a new pro here, is the OCB. Like, the OCB is big. There's the NGA, the National Gym Association, which is, my organization. Not that I'm exactly loyal to a specific organization, but it's the organization that I've competed in and that I earned my pro card in. There's the USBF. There's the GBO, I think now has a natural and a untested division or something. But the point is, there are a lot. INBF. There's a lot of natural organizations. And of course, you have to pay dues as a member and all of that. They all have their own drug testing and polygraph situation. They all have their things, their particulars, right? But it doesn't end there. So turns out the OCB, well, I'm trying to make sure I'm linear here. So I started with the NGA. I haven't had any issues with the NGA. I love them. They're pretty straightforward, whatever. And they're the oldest natural bodybuilding organization in the US. And I just kind of love tradition and all of that. So it kind of feels cool to be part of all that. But the point is, I started competing with them, and that was that. And then I was interested in competing in the OCB because a lot of the most impressive natural physiques that I was following on IG were OCB pros. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then there's quite a strong presence for them in Tampa, which is not far from me. So I wanted to compete in their organization. But then I learned after I got my pro card, when I was actually looking to expand the competition, as it were, be more competitive, that they had just instilled a rule that says if you're a OCB pro and you compete in an unsanctioned organization, or you compete in a not drug tested organization, then they strip you of your OCB pro card. I think for a couple of years. So I'll have the policy up for sure. So that's one thing. And then when you're eligible for it again, you don't just get it back. You have to compete at the amateur level before you until you earn your Natty Pro status again. So And the thing about being a pro is pro shows have cash payouts. It's the real incentive for being a good bodybuilder. Like you get the opportunity to earn money, first, second, third place, earning cash, you know. It's not a lot of money, but it's a real incentive to keep doing what at this point becomes kind of monotonous and it's a lot of work. Blood, sweat, and tears for stage photos. Usually, if you're a pro, you prep for the competition experience to really test your limits, and then that incentive of money is it's really nice, you know. So yeah, so the idea of a pro being, as far as I'm concerned, punished for competing in another organization just like floored me. I think of it a lot like my medical license, you know, with the Department of Health, and how like it shouldn't matter if I decide to take my license and open or participate in a ketamine clinic, or if I decide to take my license and go practice over here, over there, as long as I'm adhering to, you know, the Department of Health guidelines, you know, standard universal precaution, as long as I'm doing my profession and not abusing anyone, or, you know what I mean? Or in the case of the natural organizations, not taking anabolic steroids, not breaking the rules. As long as you're not breaking the rules, why do you lose your license? To me, it feels punitive, right? Because the only way you lose your license in medicine is if you do malpractice, or, you know, do something wrong, you know? So I don't understand losing your license for competing in another natural organization that maybe isn't affiliated with yours, or competing in an untested organization, but still being able to drug test as natural. Like, I don't understand. It feels punitive. And I also think that now there's a squirrel that's about to fucking attack me. Oh my God. They are trying to attack me. Like, this mofo like was grunting at me, literally came at me. Wow. Y'all, this is wild today. It's wild out here in these streets. They might actually be with the OCB. What an eventful morning. I was not expecting this. I said I wanted controversy, but I didn't want that kind of smoke, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, to me, the rule seems frankly un-American. Freedom. And it also seems like overreach, like it's really, especially because while my license is my career, right? I went to school, got my master's, did the testing, did supervision I did a lot to become an LCSW. This bodybuilding thing is a hobby. So this kind of, like, it's not a career. You're not making a paycheck. They're not freaking, you know, you are literally footing the bill for your competitions and all this other stuff. So it just seemed to me like really extreme for something that is a hobby. And the competitor's already paying their dues to your organization. Like, they are supporting you. You should be serving them and expanding opportunities and promoting your athletes, not restricting them and saying you can only compete in our shit. This isn't the NFL where they're paying you $1 million and you're under contract. That's the thing. There's no contract. There's a membership that you're paying. There's no contract. So the whole thing, to me, as a, I guess, progressive, I don't understand. Now, the reason why this is controversial is because some people feel like, well, it is a hobby. It is your choice. If you don't like it, leave. And I'll grant them that. You know, yeah, you always have choices, even if they're not the choices you would like. But, you know, it's something I want to unpack with somebody who actually is in this space. Maybe they're with the OCB, or like they are less biased than me, we'll just say, right? Like, I'd like to talk to somebody who's less biased than me, or biased on the other end of the spectrum, as it were, you know? Someone who has done well with the OCB, who's happy with the OCB, you know, and kind of unpack some of that. So as luck would have it, my friend Vira, who's a bad bitch who just took second in the motherfucking Natty Super Bowl that we talked about before, she was willing to chat with me today. Or should I say, with us. So she's amazing. The reason why I say that too, aside from what you'll gather in our conversation or whatever, that has not been recorded at the time of me saying all of this. So we'll see what all she shares, how she feels about it. is that she's natural, but look at her physique. The muscle on this frame, the traps, her poise. She has a stage presence that's so polished and professional. So she has the muscle that will turn heads, that will make you question. She could basically set the standard for figure in the natural body. But like, I always feel like with figure in the natural bodybuilding spaces, a lot of the times these are women who very often would almost be better suited for bikini in the untested organizations. Like, it's just good muscle quality, but there's not a lot of size, right? And so that kind of sets the judging criteria for figure in the natural space. But Vira really elevates that standard and screams like, look, this is possible naturally if you're athletic enough. This is possible naturally if you do the right things. Like, I feel like she could set the standard for figure in the natural space and be a really good spokesperson for it, because look at that fucking physique, you know what I'm saying? She could definitely hold her own on an NPC stage. So there's that. So I think her physique is impressive. Then how polished she is, as like with her stage presence and all of that, you know? And then I've been following her career, and to me, when I think of bodybuilding and when I did my judges clinic on what we're supposed to be looking for, I feel that she has all of the things that should have her excel in this sport. But then I find that at least when she's competed, which as far as I know is just the OCB, her physique is not rewarded. It's like their standards are of a certain sort for figure. And while she is a freaking figure competitor in the NPC, she's almost too big for the natural organization. That's my observation, right? You be the judge. But if I was in her position, and assuming she loves bodybuilding and is competitive and wants to continue to grow in this sport, and see how she stacks up against people who maybe look more like her, just that alone, right? To be compared with other people in a similar, you know, whatever, a fair comparison as far as the product on stage, not necessarily, you know, whatever they do behind the scenes. But I, at a certain point, would want to explore other organizations. Even if you ignore the organizations, I would want to compete in other shows. I would want to diversify my... How? Dude just blew me a kiss. It is wild out here, buddy. I'm getting attacked. I'm getting flirted with. It's a whole thing. Maybe it's because I'm not wearing any freaking shirt. I'm not wearing a shirt. Right. But if I was in her position with that fucking body, yada, yada, I would want to compete more, and I would want to compete in more shows. But if I did that, I would lose my pro card from an esteemed organization. So yeah, everybody, I want to talk to her about this and see how she feels, because I mean, I'm a big person about like freedom, choice, and accountability, freedom above all else. And so I'm like, you do have choices, but there's consequences, which is fine. But like, then what do you do? I feel like it's more nuanced to unpack this than a lot of people are giving credit. And also, I feel like people are really underselling how much the choice part, right? To me, because it's so punitive and because it's about like natural bodybuilding, I feel like when you're stripped of your pro card, what's the only other reason they strip people of their natural pro card? Because they cheated. So when you lose your pro card because you competed in another organization, that's publicly seen as a stain on your career. So when people say, oh, you could, if you don't like it, just leave, it's like you are completely glossing over the fact that as far as anybody else knows, I've cheated or done something wrong, and that's not actually the case. So I feel like people are really downplaying how that actually negatively affects your image. And even outside of your image, it's just like a bad taste in your mouth, you know? And I would really like to unpack this with her. So she's been so gracious as to join me on not a Zoom conference call, but something like that. So y'all will get to see that. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this for sure down there. Let's have a conversation, everybody. Lego.